Welcome to Mindflow Radio.
Mindflow Radio.
She's Jaylyn.
And he's Monty.
So buckle your seatbelts and get ready to take a trip towards reality.
Oh boy. So, welcome to November. Are you ready for this? Are you ready for this?
That's a great question. I'm ready for this moment. Certainly.
Good answer.
Yeah. Because that's all we really have.
Right.
Let's face that. And
Presence.
if we live too much in the future or in the past, guess what? We don't feel very alive because connecting with the moment is feeling alive. It's being alive.
Yeah.
Instead of being lost in our thoughts.
Right. The past or future is very heady.
It is. And it's important to review the past and understand the past and to the best of our abilities and make plans for the future. But how do we make those great plans for the future work? It's by being present.
Yeah.
In the moment and creating stuff and doing stuff and connecting with people. And
presence is the one moment in time that never ends.
You're right. The eternal present.
Yeah.
The eternal present is beyond time.
No.
There's no time.
No.
No time.
No.
No time.
No.
Time is, yeah, right. Time is an illusion, perhaps. The greatest physicists will be debating that one, I'm sure.
That time is an illusion?
Yeah. That's
well,
what
it is an
Einstein
illusion.
talked about that.
I mean, it's just for humans to try to be at the same place at the same time. But otherwise, I know for myself, sometimes when I'm waiting for my 3-minute tea timer, it feels like forever.
Oh, for sure.
And other times it happens super fast and I'm in the middle of something.
Yeah, so the perception of time can really change considerably depending on our mind state.
Yeah, sometimes my 20-minute meditations feel like 2 minutes, and sometimes they feel like hours and hours.
Yeah, I hear you. It's interesting.
It is, and yet we can say, I will meet you at noon and show up at the same time.
Yeah, it's helpful in this culture to rely so heavily on clocks. And
oh my gosh, what would I do with all the calendar on my phone? I would be such a lost puppy.
Sundial. See, that's the idea. That's the goal, is the community with the sundial.
Yes.
And so I'll meet you in the shadows over there. Well, what if it's cloudy? Well, we'll guess.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't do that. I am too much of a go-getter to be like, oh yeah, I'll meet you in the shadows over there. Be like, no, you have to tell me what time. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, it's hard to overcome the obsession we have with time. Even though it's probably not real.
I'm sure there's a lot of people out there like me who are juggling 5 to 10 projects at once. But then maybe that's not true. Maybe there's not a lot of us out there. I'm not sure.
There's people scrambling around in this culture, certainly.
Yeah.
2-3 jobs trying to make ends
exactly.
meet.
There's the people that are project heavy just because they like to do a lot of things, and then there's people who are job heavy just to make the bills.
I know, it's interesting.
Paid,
yeah. The whole time thing is very, very, very interesting, and some people would argue that if there is no such thing as time, how could this house be here? Because the house was built in the past, and the only solution to that is that, oh no, we're creating the house right now, just through our present moment belief system. In the collective belief. There's a lot of collective belief that this house is here right now, and etc. So it's just kind of a mind-bending way of viewing reality, which may be more in line with physics than we realize.
I know that one of the things that's been getting me lately is that I vet a lot of things on the world I know. I vet a lot of things on the familiar, and this is known. Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this. We're all very much inundated with the familiar, and we continue to keep it alive, kind of like what you're saying with the keeping the house alive. But that concept just bothers me and makes me have the weebie-jeebies. I just don't like that idea.
That humanity is creating everything on the fly.
Yeah, because I mean, and
all man-made stuff.
My rebuttal is we could go to the factory and watch it be made. So I have a hard time going, oh yeah, I'm on a busy highway and I'm making this up. But I also understand that reality is way more than I can fathom or see with my senses or sense with my senses, beyond what we know at this time.
Well, that's it. We were very limited in the amount of connection we can understand with reality. I mean, we have these finite minds, finite brains, and we're trying to understand infinite and eternal things, which is, it just doesn't work necessarily. Because understanding the infinite is just, we're incapable of it.
Yeah, we can't do that.
That's right.
We can philosophize and theorize and
we can point
make
our fingers at it.
hypotheses.
Yeah, we can point our fingers at it, but we really can't grasp it fully. And so what does reality really look like? We don't know. I mean, I'm a believer in string theory, modern physics, or just hermetics, which very clearly states that vibration is all there is. Consciousness is everything. God consciousness is the all. And then we're a subset of that. Obviously, we have the spark of the divine within us. So we have this consciousness within us too. And the consciousness creates matter. And if that's true, it could be true that we're just creating all this matter right on the fly and that there's actually no such thing as time. Even though personally, just as a side note, personally, I believe, on one level, there is such a thing as time, obviously. On another level, maybe a deeper level, perhaps there's no such thing as time. And just the infinite present. Yeah, infinite present. The infinitely large point on the timeline. That's all there is. It's just like, boom, present moment. I don't know. It's really challenging but it's fun to try and wrap your mind around. It's fun for me to wrap my mind.
Yeah.
One thing that's really interesting about that, though, is if we are creating things through our consciousness on the fly, doesn't that kind of lead to the idea that we can create new things if we can just shift our consciousness?
Well, that's
what manifesting
definitely more
is.
on the line that I wanted to talk about. But I want to wrap back around to how you touched on vibration.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk today about our vibration with fellow humans and how there's a lot going on. There's a lot of heated and anxious sensation around our American culture right now. And, in a few days, some things will be discovered and decided. And I...
Discovered
and decided.
Yes.
I'm very uncomfortable with politics, so I don't want to really... discuss that particularly, but I do want to say that I would like to see us be kind. I would like to see us be mindful of other people's perspectives and to remember that we are all soulful beings and we are all at different levels of conscious awareness. And if somebody is really uptight and tense and taking it out on you right now, trying really hard to remember that the conscious or the collective conscious that we are experiencing right now is heightened anxiety, anger, frustration, fear,
excitement.
And it's like a football game, in my opinion. Somebody's going to lose and somebody's going to win. And a whole group of people is going to be upset. And a whole nother group of people is going to be super excited. And we want to make it out of the parking lot as a whole people. So if we could just be mindful that the way our media has been displaying this has made it so that we are very divided and think the other side is super evil. And this is dangerous. I just want to encourage everyone to think that maybe the other side isn't as evil as you think. No matter which side you're on, to remember that the media does want you to believe that the other side is evil, and maybe question it, question your perspectives, and are you just doing what they want you to do and be divided and divisive? So that's my personal request as we enter this week, that we be open, mindful, kind, and accepting that other people may just not be able to shake the what they've been told to believe or what they've been told to fear, and to be kind to each other, because it's so important that we make it through this week and move back towards being humans instead of red and blue.
Yes, I agree with that. And I mean, just as a side note, if in our minds, if we are just wrapped up in like pointing our fingers at others, blaming others, hating others, if that's our habit, if that's our mental habit is to be hateful, one of the problems with that, one of the significant problems with that is that if I'm hateful of others, then when I make a mistake, guess what? I'm hateful of myself.
Right.
So the mind gets in the habit of being hateful, then the mind starts applying it all over the place, including, reflecting back at me with negative self-talk, or because it's part of the human condition is we all make mistakes. And if our mind is conditioned to just hate people, then we're just going to hate ourselves.
Well, I think our mind is conditioned to hate ourselves. I think that's the real problem here.
Well,
and
perhaps,
I was thinking about this a lot last night, actually, and how we are all on different levels of self-love. And a lot of people, the idea of self-love is disgusting. And the idea of self-care is out of the wheelhouse, and it's very important that we question that. Why is the idea of self-love so difficult, so strange?
Well, it is interesting because, it's something I've been thinking about for decades, literally, is how the media has programmed most of us to just be insecure, and just be insecure, feel poorly about yourself. And so you need this car, this house, this to feel good about yourself, and it's like this game that the media has been playing for decades. Besides convincing us to go to war after war after war after war after war, the media's convinced us to do that as well. But it's all about hatred, right? Isn't that hate? And just insecurity is kind of hating yourself. And so just to recognize that in all of us and to work against it. Step one is noticing it. Notice when your mind goes into this hyper judgmental state about somebody else or about yourself. And it's called metacognition. It's actually noticing your thoughts, but notice the thought and then just take a look at it, and I would say employ the truth continuum. How true is that thought? 0 to 10, something like that. And just to interrupt it.
And to even remember the part about, well, you were talking about how things aren't as physical as they seem, and the idea that energy makes matter appear.
Yeah.
And I think that there's absolutely no way that anything can be 100% true because our facilities or our faculties in our brain cannot fathom 100% of what is. So therefore, we cannot know what the truth is. We can align with as much truth as possible.
Yes.
But part of aligning
Indeed.
with truth is to be able to see all perspectives without bias.
Yeah, right. Because bias blinds us.
Yeah. So if you have a bias, then it's impossible to see the whole truth.
It is because you're looking through a tunnel.
Right.
And then you don't want to see the whole side. You don't want to, because you have a bias. You have a belief against it. And if you happen to like look at the entire picture, then you perhaps struggle with cognitive dissonance because if your belief system says one thing and you don't want to look beyond that, so you just have this tunnel vision that supports your belief system. But if you look at the entire picture, perhaps you'll get information that contradicts your belief, and then you have cognitive dissonance, which is emotionally a challenging state, but it's important. It's an important state because it allows us to see where we're at and maybe change our beliefs. But since most people, this is psychologically interesting. Most people self-identify with their beliefs. My beliefs are me. This internal dialogue I hear is me. That's self-identifying with the belief, and which is not true because beliefs are just old patterns of thought that it's programming. It could have come from our ancestors, our upbringing, or it could come from the media, but it's all these programmed beliefs that we all have. So step one is like really opening the mind and seeing both perspectives is what you're saying. All perspectives. Yeah. And that's hugely important and hugely beneficial. And
yeah. And I want to touch on what you just said about how we get programmed, and just a shout out to the modality Gene Keys, and how I don't know the exact formula or how it's come to be, but if you look up genekeys.com and go for the beta profiler, then you can see your chart as long as you know what time you were born. And what I find so intriguing about this is that the man who started it, Richard Rudd, I think I said that right, he created it. And his hypothesis is that we are a series of shadow and light that is all summarized by our time in the womb. And so there's the conception that he likens to the Big Bang of the universe, and that each of our conception is like the Big Bang, and that energy of creation, and how there's a shadow inside of that, as well as the superpower that you can get to if you can get to the shadow. And that all of these shadows that we experience in our life and how we kind of just lean towards them, whether we know it or not, are there. They're like the seed that if you figure out how to sprout it, then you get to the superpower or the city. And so he's hypothesizing that the first trimester of your life is carried out from 0 to 7, and the second trimester, first trimester is 0 to 7, and it's how you become spiritually wise. And then the second trimester is from 8 to 14, and that's how you become emotionally wise. And then the third trimester is carried out in the years 15 to 21, and that's the mental wisdom or lack of. So we can go through this chart and go backwards into it and basically heal these learned things that aren't necessarily learned. It's like our soul picked that time, picked those parents to have this experience, to have this set of shadow experiences that have their own superpowers. So I just want to offer that for me, it has been so life-changing, super, super, super life-changing that I'm able to read about my shadow and be like, oh my God, that is so me. That is so me. And everyone that I've shared this with that has shared back with me has said the same thing. So back to what you're saying, it's absolutely a bias just because we exist. So we have to find our ways out of the bias, out of the, I don't know if it's learned or if it's just because we're born. I don't know that part. Of course, it's somewhat learned, right? Because
our beliefs.
Yeah.
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 Well, yeah. They just kind of start with because of our environment.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Unless there's past life stuff in there too, which there may be.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard
Who
to
knows?
say. Yeah, right. Can't know that, but
yeah, I didn't mean to go on that big of a tangent, but to like bring it back to, I invite you, dear listener, to please consider looking at perspectives with as little judgment as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay that you have your perspective, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But to just, you know, we don't have to be the fans in the bleachers watching two teams knock each other out. We don't have to do that, you know? And if we could just realize we're in the bleachers and that these teams are just pummeling each other, we could make a difference, you know? And we wanted to talk a little bit about Thich Nhat Hanh. And I feel like Thich Nhat Hanh is a great example of this, where he refused to hate the Americans who were in Vietnam during the Vietnam War.
Yeah, he was a Buddhist monk in Vietnam at the beginning of the war, and he was like firsthand witnessing like the horror of war, right? His little village, his jets are flying over and bombs are dropping, etc., etc.
People are dying.
Yeah, of course. Lots of people are being injured, you know, etc. You know, like every war, like it's a crime against humanity, right? And so, but he was a Buddhist, and he believed that he didn't want to hate anyone. So he refused to hate the Americans. And he felt compassion for the American soldiers. When he was surrounded by people who were just, you know, how could you be compassionate towards these people? Look what they're doing. Look at all this. Look what's happening. And the Vietnamese government actually just ended up throwing him out of the country for like 50 years. You know, they threw him out. There's like, get the F out. We don't need this, your perspective right now.
It's too
nice. Mind blowing. Yeah. Right. Which is incredible. And then, but that he ended up going to France and starting Plum Village, and then he ended up going back to Vietnam, and he
came here and he started a bunch of ashrams too.
Yeah, I mean, what a great, tremendous teacher he has been, you know. And he died a few years ago, or he passed on a few years ago, but he set a great example. Yeah, I mean, I
absolutely try to be like him.
All right.
I mean, I'm even beyond that, and when I don't want any dogma either, so I don't want to align with anything specific because I just don't want to be in any box. So I've kind of added to that, you know, not hating anybody, but also knitting together and creating a collage of insights from as many traditions as I can.
Yeah. Well, that's great. You know, I mean, I agree with that. And I try and do the same thing. And I mean, from my perspective, I see us each as like soulful beings having a temporary human experience, all humans, essentially. And that's the good news. You know, we have that spark of the divine within us. The bad news is we're all confused to a certain level unless you're enlightened.
Yeah. And to wrap that back to the presence. And that's the way to be able to see the soulful being within yourself is to be present.
Yeah. Yeah, you can. It's true. Or to maybe feel it.
And see it in others.
Yeah.
Because when we're really present, truly present, and this is something that I've been working on a lot, and I just have to thank Heart Math Institute for their teachings and guidance. If I can be fully present, you can say whatever you want, and it's not going to knock me off kilter. You can't trigger me. You can't, you know what I'm saying? It's like I am so emotionally stable and rooted in this present moment that I can accept whatever is being said, whatever is happening. I mean, of course, if there's actually something wrong, if there's actually something wrong or harmful happening, it's not even, that would be silly. It'd be silly to expect myself not to go into fight flight. But as somebody who is basically lived in fight flight for the last 47 plus years, now to be present and have no anxiety and be able to hear somebody out without interrupting them a bunch and without having this like going on inside of myself, it is the biggest gift. Presence is amazing.
So what I'm hearing you say is now you're finding moments of presence throughout the day. So you're finding moments of peace throughout the day.
Yeah.
Moments where the chattering mind is still throughout the day.
Yeah.
And because of that, you feel vastly more emotionally empowered.
Yeah.
And just in general better. Your mind is elevated.
Absolutely.
All right.
I mean, I'm
job.
not a saint. I'm not perfect. I'm not enlightened, but I can taste presence and understand it, and it's delicious. And I hope that you work on presence too, because that's how we heal this world. That's how we end division. That's how we unplug from the programming, is be right here, right now together. And I do want to say that we're about to share a song with you. So if there's anything that you want to share, Monty, about the things that we've said.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about presence, and that the more present we can become, the more effective we are. Because the clearer our minds are.
Yeah.
And the more effective we can become, the better we can become at creating positive things, manifesting positive things for ourselves, our family, our tribe, all of humanity. And that's personally my goal, is to try and manifest some cool stuff for everyone, including myself,
Yeah.
And
we all are here on purpose. We all have a mission, and to open ourselves to that is...
right. And I realize that the more I can find the present moment, the more effective I can be at moving forward in elevating my own mind, which elevates my ability to create stuff and to have fun for
And I
that
think
matter.
You would have to agree that being present is not easy. Like I've definitely challenged you on that. Like, where are you? Where'd you go?
I'd be like, well, I'm thinking about Facebook.
Or whatever you're thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I have
thinking is not present.
I've been like pushing back on the social media and on the media stuff because I've gotten kind of carried away.
Yeah.
But that affects my presence, and then
collective.
I don't feel as good, and then I'm more irritable, and then but if I'm finding moderation with the screen time, that's really key. Moderation with the news, moderation with all that, and moderation even includes fasting, like taking complete breaks from that stuff.
Especially if you've been on the other side. Yeah, of just too much. If you've done too much, then you need to
you counterbalance it with just having a fast.
So I want to invite you to a little musical intermission here, and we'll share some more thoughts about kindness, open perspective, and the present moment. Enjoy.
Yes. Soul is me.
Soul is me.
Soul is you.
Soul is you.
Soul is me.
Soul is me.
Soul is you.
Soul is you.
Soul is me. Soul is you. Soul is me. Soul is you. Soul is illuminating. Soul is illuminating. Soul is illuminating. Soul is illuminating. Soul is me. Soul is you. 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 Soul is illuminating. Soul is illuminating. Soul is illuminating. Soul is illuminating. Soul is me. Soul is you. 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 Soul is illuminating. Soul is illuminating. Soul is illuminating. Soul is illuminating. Soul is indestructible. Soul is indestructible. Soul is indestructible. Soul is indestructible. Soul is me. Soul is you. Soul is me. Soul is you. Soul is me. Soul is you. Soul is me. indestructible. Soul is illuminating. Soul is indestructible. Soul is illuminating. Soul is me. Soul is you. 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 All right. Well, hope you enjoyed this song.
Yeah, that was one of Monty's originals from long, long ago.
Well, the chant was, yeah, and the beat, the rhythm was in an 11 time signature.
I
Just to
didn't
let you
even know that.
Yeah, you've always been good with the time signatures. But yeah, the chant, the words are that's kind of a personal chant that I wrote probably 25 years ago. And I try and like keep touching base with it because it's a reminder. Soul is me. Oh, what am I? Oh, I'm a soul.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what does that make you? Or what does that make that person I don't like over there? Oh, they're a soul too. Oh, okay, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, so don't take things too heavy, right? Because being this body is just the soul's temporary residence,
Mm-hmm.
and it helps for me to remember that because then I lighten up substantially rather than getting all bent out of shape over this and that and this and that.
There's so much to get bent out of shape.
There is.
I mean, if you look at me, I'm probably like one of those, if you took a paper clip and you contorted it into all kinds of little rounded shapes and back and forth, and it looks like a discombobulated thing. That's what I'm like.
Right. But now you're becoming more and more present.
Yeah, presence it irons it out a little bit.
Well, presence is a state of mind that actually transcends the analytical mind.
It's amazing.
The analytical mind is quiet and more present, and essentially that's what being in the flow state is.
Mm-hmm.
If we can maintain that for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And that happens to be the reason that people love like thrill sports and this and that, because when they jump out of an airplane, guess
not
what?
Thinking about their to-do list.
Right. No, they're not. That's right. They're very present.
Yeah.
Which is it's a place that we all want to be, whether we know it or not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even a lot of our addictions or whatever we're obsessed with. Where like I had a Tai Chi student once, and he was obsessed with golf because when he was golfing, it put him in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. And then after doing Tai Chi for a while, he won his golf tournament.
Nice.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, these mindful movement modalities are very helpful
Oh, yeah.
in improving our ability to be present and increase our health and increase the functioning of the energy in our body.
Well, it helps our bodies feel better for, like, what I tend to say in Tai Chi classes, just like get in that Tai Chi zone as much as possible throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
So you bring it with you. It's not something you do for 5 minutes and then forget about for the rest of the day. It's like, no, you try and maintain that posture, maintain that relaxed strength, maintain the fluid movement.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just wanted to say that Monty, and mainly Monty, put together that song that we just heard. And that was a little creative passion project he did so that we could all enjoy. So,
well, I did it as a reminder to myself too.
Yeah, and that's
I
usually what
I try to listen to that
our
fairly
passionate
regularly.
things are for, right?
Yeah.
Our mindful, passionate things are reminders to ourselves. Most of our music is like that. I've listened back to music that we played 9 years ago, and all I can think is, this was a message to my future self. This is it's a message for me now, so I can get back on my path.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. We all can fall off our path.
Yeah.
But it's kind of the nature of progress. It's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 3 steps forward, maybe 4 steps back. But then you take 5 steps forward and then another step back, and et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, you make progress. And that's what I like to saying that progress is perfection.
Oh, I like to say practice makes progress.
Well, that's true too. Without practice, it just doesn't happen. There's
It's more random.
No, there's no way we're going to rewire our brains without practicing, without training.
Rewiring the brain, especially if you have any kind of major anxiety or depression or mental health challenges, rewiring the brain is no small task.
Well, it's no small task for anybody because you're actually changing the physical structure of your brain.
And the wiring is really, the wiring creates the physical structure, but the neurons actually have to recreate a road. It's similar to the way we create roads with all the little construction, I don't mean little, all the construction workers and all those big machines tearing up the old road.
Yeah.
Our brain, the way we tear up the old roads is not allow ourselves to think the same way that we did.
Yeah. And every time we interrupt the old unproductive pattern of thought, the road gets degraded a little bit.
Yep.
And then you just stay on it. And pretty soon the road goes from a superhighway to a highway to a country road to a path in the woods. And maybe goes away entirely if you just stay on it. And wouldn't it be nice if we could all do that when it comes to negative self-talk?
That would be amazing. It really would. I listening to you say that, I in my mind, all I can think is I've been working on this for 20 years and I still have a highway, not a footpath for my old stuff, But I would have to say that for someone in my position, which is, I don't know how many people actually have the dispositions that I have. I think you've said I'm pretty rare. I don't know, like my trauma level. I don't know how I compare to.
Yeah, no, your early childhood trauma is very intense.
Well, not just early, just childhood in general.
Yeah. Well, into adulthood.
Yeah, so the fact that, I've made as much progress as I have in 20 years, I'm grateful. I'm just grateful because it's getting easier and easier and easier, but it hasn't been easy in the whole scheme of it because it's been a lot of pain and suffering and physical degradation, and now I feel like I've understand how to be present, and that is literally the key. I remember I did a course, it was called the Neurobiology of Trauma. I can't remember, it was like a conglomeration of teachers on mindfulness, and one of the things that they talked about was the telomeres, and the telomeres are the caps on the end of the DNA. And when the telomeres start to disintegrate, then the DNA, all of the problems that the DNA could have start to happen. And I remember learning about this, and I was just floored because it said the higher your trauma, the more likelihood of the telomeres to degrade. And the solution is presence. So I've been chasing presence for a good 9 years now. And so, I've been practicing mindful modalities for 20 years, but it took me 11 years to even start to get on the right path. So I got some tools. They got me on the path. And then it's taken me another 9 years to understand how to be present.
Yeah.
So no matter where you're at on your path, it's worth the effort. You are worth it. No matter what age you're at, no matter what physical ailments you're dealing with, or mental ailments for that matter, it is worth it. Every time you stop an old pattern, every time you stop an old thought, an old emotion, every time you interrupt it, it's so worth it. Because one day you'll go, oh my gosh, I'm present. And it is such a fabulous feeling.
Yes. Yeah, it's where we feel most alive.
Mm-hmm.
And we all want it.
And we actually
whether
heal.
we realize it or not.
We heal in the present moment. That's the whole thing of the telomeres. If you can if you can repair your telomeres by being present,
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, just through presence too. That's when our prana gets stronger, our chi gets stronger, and
and you want to know how you can get really off presence?
Too much Facebook,
politics. So back to the original thought. We have a really big week ahead, and then there's like how many months till the inauguration, and there's a lot of opportunity to seize the moment, to unplug, to open the mind, to see beyond the two perspectives that are being offered, and add in new perspectives. And remember, I think the biggest fact for me is that we only know 1% of reality. So if that's true,
less than that.
If we know 1% of reality, then by becoming super present and open-minded, then maybe we can double that, and then we are at 2%. I mean, can you imagine what when I think about it, I can literally not fathom what reality could even be if I only know 1%.
Well, if the foundation of all matter is energy, it's like swirling, moving energy somehow, consciousness. Like, who knows?
Yeah. I mean, I literally think
that's
it's beyond
reality. That's
humans' ability to fathom. I think it's unfathomable. And so in that case, why even worry about it?
Well, I mean, but the thing to worry about, or the thing to work on, from my perspective, is just our own vibration. Because there is such a thing as collective consciousness, which is like a collective vibration. And if I'm all judgmental and all hateful and towards others and myself and the whole thing, guess what? My vibration is adding to the war vibration that's collectively fueling, disharmony on the earth. So I'm part of the problem at that point, and now if I work with my vibration and I find more presence, like you were saying, and find more just connectedness with the moment, and just connectedness with my energy, and then my mind elevates somewhat, and then I'm sending out peaceful vibrations, productive vibrations out into the collective. So at that point, I'm part of the solution. And to be frank with you, I'm part of the solution some of the time and part of the problem some of the time.
And that takes so much courage to even be able to realize.
Well, it doesn't take courage to realize it. It's like, I mean, it's pretty obvious to me.
But you know what I mean? Like, it takes courage to be able to admit your faults and weaknesses.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe.
I think that's true for everyone, to be able to. Well, I mean, there's some of us who continually beat ourselves up and have really negative self-talk. But I'm, and for those of us who have that problem, then it takes courage to think nicely about ourselves. But there's a whole group of people who think they're right.
Oh, certainly.
And so it takes a lot of courage to go, wait, where could I be wrong?
Yeah.
Or where could I be off?
Yeah. And
maybe
what is
wrong.
reality? How about that? And
yeah.
Well, what role am I playing in the collective here, in the collective vibration? I don't know if it takes courage, but it takes some insight to really look at yourself that way. And it's valuable. It's real. I think that's as close to reality as I can come. As I can fathom. It's like vibration. Okay, so I'm being hateful. Okay, I'm part of the problem right now. I get it. Shame on me.
But
time for some negative self-talk.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, all of that is the same vibration right there.
Yeah. But then, that's it. But then I can recognize it, and then just quiet my mind, and then bam, I'm part of the solution. So it can flip pretty quickly, and ultimately, the bottom line is, I would really love to see humanity evolve and us to network together and work together to create a better world.
I agree.
World where we don't need to kill each other. A world where we can grow our own food. A world where we can create our own electricity. A world where we can build our own houses, perhaps,
Yeah. So I want to say that sometimes that can just sound really dreamy. And for those of us who see that or hear that as just dreamy and silly, I just invite us to remember that to have a new world, to have a new paradigm, it means we have to do things completely different. And maybe you're saying things that are maybe lofty and dreamy, but at least you're trying to escape the norm. And so if we just can open our mind that the norm is the same old, and be willing to invite other perspectives.
Well, that's it. And it's possible that humanity is destined to evolve.
Agreed.
So let's just hook into that a bit and work with our own vibration.
Yeah. And I want to introduce to you CD Peeps. I know that we've had them on another show.
CD Peeps.
We are CD Peeps. We're part of a musical collective of CD Peeps, and the name comes from seeds. and I just want to say that this group of people is passionate about a collective consciousness of creativity, innovation, and breaking the norms. So please enjoy this musical offering. It's always an improv. And anything you want to say about the CD Peeps before we close?
Well, CD Peeps is more than music. It's kind of like this beginning of this network that's forming, that where we're here to help each other. We're here to help each other grow, help each other evolve, essentially. And music is one form of that.
That's how we commune. So please enjoy. Have a lovely month of peace, open-mindedness, presence, and calm.
Elevated vibration.
Be well, y'all. The night is I am enough. You are enough. I love enough. I'm loved enough. This moment is enough. You are enough. I am enough. You are enough. I love enough. I'm loved enough. This moment is enough. Yeah.